The disc landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico. The rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazell was the man who discovered the saucer.
What I thought was a star began coming in my direction at a very rapid rate of speed.
The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach.
I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river.
UFO classified. UFO classified. No more plausible deniability. Fact, fiction, or the truth. You decide. And now, the new voice of the high desert, the hostess of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes.
Well, happy Fantopia Friday, my friends. This is Erica Lukes, and you are listening to the best digital broadcasting on the planet. I am so happy to be here at KCOR. I want to give a shout out to the best producer in the world. She takes great care of me, and I respect her and love working with her every week. Thank you, Tina Marie, for making this such a great station and always making my show sound impeccable. I have to say hello to my friends in chat. Every time I do a show, the people in chat seems to be growing and growing, and when I get in there and see Jeff and David and UFO author Susan, all of you, I mean, this really means a lot to me, and I hope you know that I appreciate you spending your Friday evening with me. It means a lot. I hope to every week bring you new information and to introduce you to people that I personally hold in high esteem. Tonight, my guest is just a brilliant man who has been so helpful to me since I came into this field, and I can't wait to introduce you to him. But first, I want to give my thanks to Mike Diamante, who wrote a wonderful article on punk rocks and UFOs, cryptozoology and media, and that is posted on my Facebook. He interviewed me, and I spoke a bit about what was going on in the field, and then also my TV show that I'm fortunate to be a part of, UFOs, The Lost Evidence. Keep your fingers crossed that we have a season 2. It was a pleasure to work with people like John Greenwald and Dave Rosenfeld, Richard Dolan. It is really a pleasure. Good things are happening. And I hope that, all of you just take the time to message me, share the information about UFO Classified, and let's keep this growing and try to get good information out there for everyone and create a cohesive, supportive, loving environment. That's what I think. There's your lecture. Next weekend, I get to hang out with some of my favorite people, and Ron Regehr is one of them. Chris O'Brien, Cliff Mahooty. It is going to be a great time because the Utah UFO Festival is in Cedar City next weekend. So if you are there or you're anywhere close, make sure you come and see all of us. The speaker lineup is incredible. We'll be under the stars. And I'm so proud of Nathan for organizing this. This is the second year in a row he has done this. He's never done this before. And to watch him grow this in the past 2 years has been incredible. I really honestly was concerned when he started to do this because I just wanted the best for him. And I know how difficult it is to put your money on the line and your reputation and to get out there and do it. And he's done it. And my hat's off to him. So come out and see us there next weekend. And then I will be at the end of the month. I was invited to speak at ECETI Ranch at their annual conference. And I'm looking forward to this as well because this area is incredibly active. And I think it will be a wonderful opportunity for me to be there and do field research and then to just absorb the things going on around me. I will be there for 5 days. That is going to be another great time. So I've got a month of UFOs. Let's get it. I'm telling you, you'll have some good stories from me in the next month or so. My guest this evening is Ron Regehr. He has 50 years as a UFO researcher, and he's a retired aerospace engineer with 36 years experience at Douglas Aircraft and Aerojet Electrosystems working in the space and Earth surveillance systems. He is MUFON's Director of Documentation, a MUFON research specialist in space satellite technology. Two of his major areas of contribution in UFO research are satellite detection of UFOs and analysis of photos and other data associated with Roswell. His resume is absolutely stellar, and I won't read it all because I want to have him tell us more about that. But he was the former state director for Utah. And when I first met Ron, he was so helpful to me and sent me files about Utah cases. He has done extensive research with regard to petroglyphs in Utah and Arizona. And Ron, I cannot tell you how excited I am you're here.
I'm glad to be here. And I'll try to live up to my
You will, and I can't. We'll talk about this, but I want you guys to go to Utah UFO Festival and then read the rest of Ron's bio. He is an incredible lecturer, so I look forward to next weekend. But Ron, I just want to say you have been one of those rare people in the field who has taken me under your wing and has been very helpful and has shared information with me, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. It's been my pleasure, really.
Well, and it's so fun to have somebody to talk to about Utah because this place is a trip.
It is. It's really funny. We can delve right into one of the more interesting events I had. I owned a campground, a mobile home park in Moab, and one of my tenants, I made it no secret that I enjoy investigating UFOs. And he came up and sort of shuffled a little bit nervous, and he says, "You're the UFO guy, aren't you?" And I said, "Well, yeah." He says, "I know where there's a petroglyph of a great big UFO and some UFO people, 4 foot tall. They're real big, right there." And I said, "Oh, really? Where at?" "Oh, you can't miss it. Down by the gooseneck." For those in the audience who don't know, the goosenecks is in south central Utah, and it refers to the way the San Juan River flows, forming a bunch of goosenecks there. Windy hairpin turns in the river. So anyway, I decided I'd go out and investigate. He says, "You can't miss it," which to me is the kiss of death on direction. But anyway, he said, "You just go to the first dirt road, go to the dirt road and turn right." Not the first one, just the dirt. And for those of you who live in the West, you'll realize that those are pretty sketchy directions. And they said, "Go about a mile, and there's this big old rock all by itself. And the carvings are right on the front of it." So I go down there, and dirt roads out here are about like you would get a sheet of glass and hold it about a foot over the sidewalk and drop it. And all the little cracks where the glass breaks are like dirt roads out here. There's roads for all manner of things. And so I'm driving along, looking carefully. For the first 2 miles, there is not one single big rock next to the road. So I think maybe I've gotten the wrong road, but up ahead I can see rocks. Well, to cut to the chase, 7 miles later, and maybe 200 big rocks by the side of the road, I found this big glyph. The figures were about 4 inches high, not 4 feet high, but it's a triptych, a 3-panel of petroglyphs. And the first one shows a man fleeing from a UFO, or Patuvota, which is hoping for flying shield, which is their term for UFO. The second panel shows a man being taken away by a flying serpent. The third panel shows a man and a woman, or a small female, being returned by the help of a spirit or star person, and took them 2 tries to get down. The first time they were blocked by a serpent. So I thought that was a pretty cool panel. I've got pictures of it. And,
wow. I would say so.
I'm holding them right here so you can see them.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to see them. So when you found this, did you do research on this specific area?
A little bit. It was part of the migration route for the Hopi. It's right below, I forget the name, Monkey Dugway.
Okay.
If you're familiar with that. It's right in the Bears Ears National Monument area. So it's right where there was a lot of early activity. And so I was just very pleased to find it. I went back and talked to John, and I said, John, it's not 1 mile, it's 7. And the boulder's not all by itself. It's in a big boulder field. And he says, well, back in the day, we used to have a little bit of, stuff that we carried around.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, at least you got,
Yeah.
he gave you enough information that you could get there and see it.
Yeah. But these things take perseverance, and I invite everybody to follow up on leads when they get them. They don't always pan out, but when they do, it's well worth it.
Well, and it's a fun adventure, I love that. I love getting out there into some of these, secluded areas, and then just being out there and absorbing things, or going into small towns and talking to witnesses. It's just you never know what you're going to learn.
Right. Well, I went back there again with my wife, not with me at that time, and we started looking for other glyphs on the way, and we stopped this one rock, and I could hear people talking. You know how if you're in a room and you can hear somebody talking in the other room, it's a conversation, but you can't quite make out the words.
Right.
And so I'll go around the corner, and it was sound like two male voices. And I'll say, these guys ought to know where something is. So I walked around the corner, and there's this beautiful alcove, white sandy bottom, and just nice and shade. There's nobody there. And I hear voices behind the rock now. So I go over there, and nobody there. And I look forward, and there's the car in front of me, and so I run up to my wife and say, where did the guys go? And she said, nobody there. I'm kind of spooked. I'm wondering, okay, I know I heard voices, but maybe it's the wind, maybe I'm imagining things, I don't know. About half a mile up the road, there's another beautiful panel that shows, I call it the duck head panel. There's a couple of figures of about 3 foot tall of people, and then there's, but the people don't have regular heads. They've got heads that look like fowl or ducks. And bizarre. So we take pictures of that and made field measurements, and then my wife heads back to the car, and I clamber off the rocks, and I get this strong urge to look around the corner of this other rock. So I go around the corner, and there it looks like it's freshly carved. I mean, just within moments, a little petroglyph of a bull's head that looks like something that would be on a tobacco wrapper or something. I mean, just a little stylized bull's head. And I say to myself, what the heck? And just as I'm thinking, what the heck, these same two laughing voices I was heard behind the rock just start raucous laughter, sort of like, made you look. So there's still spirits up there that like to play games, and I fell for it.
Well, and it's interesting because somebody, we're talking in the chat room, and I just made a comment that in areas like this, or areas like Skinwalker, different hotspots, it is not, you do hear about people hearing voices or underground machinery, some of these things. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it's one of the places also that I've heard people want to do EVP, electronic voice recording, and see if they can hear voices on aren't available to normal audio equipment. So.
Oh, we should go and try that. That'd be really interesting.
Yeah. Maybe in the next life.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
We'll
Party
do it.
pooper that I am.
Oh, I know, but that would be so much fun. We could get Chris O'Brien and Clifford and go out there and have a good time.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Which I know we will. And I want to, we had a question in the chat room. Jeff wanted to know if you know where the Portal RV Park is.
Yes. in Moab.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have never heard about this. Tell me about it.
Oh, it's just the portal is where the Colorado River's notched a spot in the cliff. So it's just an RV park and nothing. So I've heard nothing of it that would lead me to believe there's anything going on other than people camping.
Oh, okay. Well,
Sorry
that's a
about
little, dang it, I know that's a little disappointing, but that's okay. There's so many other places in Utah where there are mysterious things going on. And you mentioned Moki Dugway. And I know I have a friend, Dave Rosenfeld, who I'm sure you know as well, but he spends a lot of time out there. What goes on in that area that you know of? And I think that we might have lost Ron, but we will call him right back. So I want to just mention, but this area near Dugway, I mean, the whole area is out in the middle of the desert. It is absolutely pristine. There are petroglyphs out in this area. And then also you have this, everything that's going on within Dugway. And so it makes it a very unique place.
Just leave your name and number and I'll get...
Well, that was Ron's voicemail. So we'll try him back. But this place is really interesting. And if you don't know who Dave Rosenfeld is, I would love it if you would take a second and just look him up. He's got a great website. He's done extensive research here in Utah. It's Alien Dave. And he also appeared on UFOs, The Lost Evidence with me, and he comes to some of our gatherings here in Utah. He will be joining us down at the Utah UFO Festival with Ryan Burns, who lives in a property that is fairly close to Skinwalker Ranch. So we've got all of these really cool Utah connections. Dave is a brilliant photographer, and so he always posts on his Facebook page pictures of him out on the periphery of Dugway. And speaking of, while we're waiting for Ron to get back on the phone, this week, Jan Aldrich, who is just an amazing historian. He's going to be on the show coming up pretty quick. But he sent me an old declassified file from 1952, and it was about a sighting in Dugway, Utah. It is very interesting, and I will be sharing that with you. I'm going to write a little report on that and get that out to you. I'm right now kind of amassing a collection of reports near Dugway and eyewitness testimony around the Salt Lake International Airport, Kennecott Copper, places that are very active areas. My research partner, Jeff Cox, and myself have done an extensive study on spheres in Utah, and we have determined that there is basically a corridor where these objects are always seen, a UFO coffer, where these spherical type objects will appear. I remember one time I spoke with someone who was the daughter of a pilot who was stationed out at Dugway Proving Ground. And they were out there doing a test mission, and there were 5 helicopters that were flying and just getting ready to take off. And they had night vision goggles on. Through the night vision goggles, they could see 3 to 5 spherical shaped objects. When they took the goggles off, they couldn't see anything. The communication between each helicopter got very sporadic, and they were, I think, a little bit alarmed, but then they just observed these spherical objects in front of them. And this is some of the most restricted airspace in the world, but these objects this person who observed it felt that they were communicating with them. They just blink on and off, and they would move in patterns. And it was very disconcerting to this person, and I find that very curious because this is, again, a trained professional, somebody who knows what they're doing, and they're in a place that is some of the most restricted space in the world because of the gravity of what they do at Dugway. If you don't know about Dugway Proving Ground, I want to tell you a little bit about it because it's 80 miles away from Salt Lake City, which is the most densely populated area in Utah. Dugway was established back in the 50s, and it is a top secret chemical weapons testing facility. So we have every once in a while, stories will leak out about a vial of neurotoxin that goes missing. About a year ago, there was a scare when live anthrax was shipped from Dugway, and that was shipped via FedEx, amazingly enough, and it was shipped to over 30 places all over the world. So they're making the news, if you pay attention to it, sometimes because of the lack of oversight that is in this specific area. And again, Dave Rosenfeld talks a lot about Dugway and the things that go on there. If you haven't heard some of my past shows, I've mentioned this. I don't dwell on it a lot, but I actually spent the first year of my life living at Dugway Proving Ground because my father was in the military. And that was shortly after the Dugway sheep incident, where there were thousands of sheep killed. It's another good story. So let's get back to it. Sounds like we have got Ron. Are you back?
I'm back.
Oh, yay.
I don't know what happened. My phone just says system failure. I've never seen that before.
Well, I just kept saying surprise.
Yeah, the last time I was on Art Bell, I had to switch phones. The phone went dead, and there was a helicopter circling my house. So.
Well, that's a little disconcerting.
Live.
So we have to go to break here in a minute, but let's talk about Dugway and things like that when we get back, because I know you've done pretty extensive research with regard to some of this, and to me, Dugway is a very important area, not just in our state, but this is a place we should be paying attention to. And I'm Erica Lukes. We're going to take a break. Thanks for getting into chat. Thanks for listening. I'm here with Ron Regehr. We will be back.
Stand by. This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes. Erica Lukes. The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified. UFO Classified with Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this. Bowl for Life is a non-profit organization founded in 2013 by Chuck Gardner with one simple goal: to grow the sport of bowling worldwide. Over the years, Bowl for Life has given out thousands of dollars in scholarships to youth bowlers around the world. Our focus is to nurture integrity, honesty, professionalism, as well as respect into bowlers both young and old. You can help us by going to bowlforlife.com. Even the smallest donation goes a long way to breaking down the barriers and helping us assist people of all ages to improve their skills as well as knowledge of the game. Bowl for Life is happy to be partnered with other great organizations like the Youth Education Services Fund, as well as the United States Bowling Congress, with many spectacular integrated events planned in the near future. To learn more, go to bowlforlife.com. That's bowlforlife.com.
Now, broadcasting in digital HD radio.
What if maintaining a healthy weight was as simple as drinking a cup of coffee? With Valentis coffee, it's that easy. Harvested from the world's most pristine coffee farms and packed with the purest ingredients on earth, Valentis takes losing weight to a completely new level. At Valentis, we believe everyone deserves a chance to be healthy and fit. It's pure, natural, healthy, and delicious. Click the Valentis Healthiest Coffee banner on the KCOR Digital Radio Network website and take the Weight Loss Guarantee Challenge. Valentis Coffee, simply the world's healthiest coffee.
I'm jumping in with my clothes on.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety.
Here's what happened on the last episode of Three Guys, No Ties.
All right, this dumbass criminal for today comes from the International File in Yiwu, China.
Okay.
where the local police had set up a drunk driving checkpoint. Our dumbass spotted the cops and pulled over about 100 meters from the stop.
Warning.
He was drunk?
No, maybe a little bit.
Like
So what happened?
stoned.
So what happened?
He jumped out of a Mercedes and scrambled up the hill before slipping and falling back down.
Oh, there's cops up there. Let me jump out of the car. They won't see me.
He then began pulling up grass and stuffing it into his mouth in an apparent attempt to disguise the alcohol on his breath. All this commotion attracted the attention of the cops, of course.
He might have been okay if he just didn't do that, right?
Even though he denied drinking and driving, he was taken to the police station where he flunked a blood alcohol test.
Three Guys, No Ties. Wednesday nights, 7 to 9 Pacific on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
America's favorite radio station just keeps getting better.
Hello, people. Aaron Hunter here, host of the show Real Paranormal Activity, where we tell the true stories of the paranormal from people like you. We also interview authors, mediums, psychics, and investigators as we dive headfirst into the murky waters of the paranormal. We discuss subject matters such as orbs, shadow people, paganism, the occult, and the demonic. Join me on Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, here at KCOR Digital Radio Network.
You're listening to
UFO Classified with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts.
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Erica Lukes on another edition of UFO Classified. It is always so heartwarming to see you guys in chat and to see everybody growing every week. And I think that this is great to have a cohesive community of people that are really in this for the right reasons and don't want to play games. We want to do good work, and we want to empower people that have had experiences that are life-changing and incredibly difficult to deal with. So I'm happy that we can have this community, and thank you for being a part of it. My guest this evening is my friend and researcher who has been doing this for 50 years. He was telling me on the break that he has several books that he is getting ready to release, and one of them is on petroglyphs, which to me, this is exactly where I want to go. I think this is fascinating, especially living here in Utah, where we have so much going on right under our noses. So when we left off, we were talking about an experience Ron had near Moki Dugway and the voices that he heard. And then I talked about Dugway a little bit more. But Ron, let's go right into that. What, in your years of working here in Utah, what are some things that you learned about Dugway?
There's quite a bit of activity going on there that's not always necessarily associated with activity paid for by the U.S. taxpayer. There's been many reports of orange orbs, several reports I got of triangular-shaped craft, and just lots of strange things going on. Weird creatures. I can't remember all of it. It's just it's in a composite of mine of just someplace. I don't want to go without several good friends and several air police and military police by my side.
That's a good plan. And I look at Dave, who's always out there kind of on the periphery, and I think, oh my Lord. It's great to talk about it, and I don't know how close I would want to go. I think for a multitude of reasons, and one because, it's so toxic out there. I mean, they've done so much testing, and it is the people that live on the periphery of Dugway. I mean, their life expectancy is 10 years younger than people in Salt Lake or other cities.
It's toxic both physically as far as the chemicals, and I think it's toxic mentally as well. And so I would really prefer just not to go there unless there was a really compelling reason, and just to chase lights or something like that isn't compelling for me.
Right. Have you, when you were researching things that happened, in and around the area, did you ever have any experiences with people trying to kind of keep you quiet?
Not really, and mainly because I'm really upfront. I don't sneak around places. I walk right up to whoever I think is in charge and just open up a conversation. So, and usually it's one of those things, if I'm going to be not welcome, I know beforehand. I didn't try to get into the Skinwalker Ranch, for example, because you'll want to talk to Chris O'Brien about that. But it's not something that once I talk to the people that have been there, and I've got about a 3-inch stack of, it's a photocopy of the security logs from the place. So after reading through those, it's not really something I want to venture into. Again, there's some places where there's tight security for a reason other than don't come and look what we got.
Right.
Example, if maybe many of your listeners, maybe none of them, have seen, or they can Google it while we're talking, Sago Canyon pictographs. Sago Canyon is a canyon about 30 miles north of Moab, Utah. And there they have the most stunningly gorgeous pictograph of 19 life-size images that some of them look extremely extraterrestrial. And there at the entrance to this valley, across the valley is a panel of 6 all red characters, one of which looks extremely demonic. Around the corner from this group of 5 is a bizarre character that's standing there with a strange headdress. In his right hand, he's holding a datura, Jimson weed, crazy weed bud. The entire figure is surrounded by dots, polka dots, if you will. And below him is a squared-off man torso with red stripes on it. So this whole bizarre collection, assemblage, whatever you wish to call it, turns out what it is the 19 figures facing north are watchers. What they're watching is watching and warning people who will travel up that canyon that you might not want to go there. Because as you get up the canyon, cross over the top of the ridge and down, you end up in the Skinwalker territory for the Skinwalker Ranch. Now those glyphs have been there about 6,000 years. So what we're talking about isn't something that's just happened when the Shermans moved up there. It's not something that just happened when Bigelow bought it. It's something that's been going on for thousands of years. So much so that the native population 6,000 years ago decided, let's put a warning up there. And the figure with the datura is one of the witches they captured, and the figure below him is a medicine man. So for all eternity, the witch is being contained by the medicine man, and the figures on the other side are watching and warning, do not go up here. So that's, to me, one of the more compelling and intriguing left panels I've found.
Oh, I cannot wait to go there. I mean, what have you learned about that whole area? Because I know that the activity is not isolated at Skinwalker Ranch, although it may be the epicenter, but the whole Uinta Basin seems to be teeming with this strange different types of phenomena. What did you learn?
The whole area is teeming with strange phenomena. You got the file. I'm not going to not going to mention the name because they're real people, and we'll change the name to protect them. But 2 young boys were watching television. This happened in 1984, and they were watching their color TV with the antenna, not cable. And as they were watching, the picture went crazy. And one of the means that they used to use to correct the picture was to turn the TV set off and then turn it back on again. And when one of the youngest brother reached up and turned the TV off, and turning it off and then turning it back on again was one of the means I found would straighten out the picture. When he turned it back on again, his hand sparks flew out of the knob of the TV and numbed his hand. At the same time, 4 figures appeared on the television screen, just like they were part of the program. And at first they were puzzled because they didn't change the channel, and they were wondering what's going on. And then they got a little bit frightened because it appeared that the figures on the television screen were responding to what they were saying and doing, as if, like these figures are looking through, using the screen as a monitor to monitor what was going on in their front room. So they were somewhat puzzled by that. Tried to reach up and got more sparks off the screen. It slowly faded into no picture. The older brother ran outside just to see a craft going off into the distance. When the younger brother got out there, all that was left was just a trail of lights. But that's in that area. Was in Roosevelt, 1984. And that was reported by a man named Junior Hicks. And Junior Hicks did a lot of UFO investigations up there. And when Bigelow took over the ranch, one of the first people he talked to was Junior Hicks. And as I understand it, he sort of grabbed him by the feet and shook him upside down until he got everything out of him. But it's been a strange area there for probably thousands of years.
So I know that there were researchers or Native Americans that are very hesitant to go there. Why do you think that is? And do you think that something that is localized once you go there has the capacity to follow you home?
I think it does have the capacity to follow one home. I don't think it always does follow one home. But remember, if you listen to the Utes, which are the predominant native in the area, they assert that the Skinwalker was cursed upon them by the Navajo. Whether or not that's true or not, I don't know. But that's what they claim. And the Skinwalker in Navajo lore is somebody who's one of the criteria for membership is to kill the closest member of your family before you can become a Skinwalker. And so that's sort of a bizarre means to get established in the organization, but that's the way they do it. That's makes me kind of question whether that event going on in the Uinta Valley is something that's new or if it's been going on for thousands of years. My money says thousands of years. And
I agree. Absolutely. And when you look at other areas around the world, these hot spots, you look at the Yakima Indian Reservation, you look at Hessdalen, all of these places, it's the same types of things that you're seeing. Right. And they are bizarre, but there are a lot of commonalities. And so you can't just kind of pass this off on the curse of the Skinwalker, in my opinion.
Correct. And generally speaking, from what I've learned from my Navajo friends, the skinwalkers don't really curse per se for long periods of time. They have a mission to perform, and it's usually when, I'll get you for this, and then have a skinwalker intervene, not to hang around for maybe millennia in one area. Not to say that it doesn't, but it's just not the modality I've heard of. And it's really easy for the Ute population to blame it on the Navajo, and because there's not too many Navajo up there, and they're relative newcomers to the Uinta Basin. So I think it's much more rooted in old-time reality as opposed to newfound people who we want to call our enemies, such as the Navajo.
Oh, it's also interesting. I mean, I have talked to, people like Ryan Burns who have lived in the area, or even, I have a few friends that don't want me to mention their names, and they don't even want to mention skinwalkers, but they've had experiences with them. What do you make of the skinwalker?
From what I've gathered from my Navajo elder friend, let me give you an example that I thought was rather humorous. We were up in the mountains looking for a Bigfoot. One of the Navajo sheep herders complained to Dan that Bigfoot was up there harassing his sheep, and could we come up and get rid of it for him? So we went up there, J.C. Johnson and Dan and Tom and I, on a Bigfoot hunt. Well, we got up there, set up camp, and then started to explore a little bit. Well, about 100 yards from camp was a large set of 3 or 4 pinyon pines. When I say large, I mean the trunks were maybe 2.5, 3 foot in diameter, and ripped from each of those trees was a branch, 8-inch to 10-inch diameter branch that had been ripped off and neatly stacked. Now, that's bizarre. Hurricanes or strong winds don't generally neatly stack branches, and so I took pictures of the branch with the sap dripping out of it, and was getting ready to take a picture of the stack of branches when Tom yells, "Wow, suicide bird!" And I run over, and there's a bird impaled, so all that's sticking out is his tail feathers, in the ground, and he's still alive. I've got video of it.
Oh, gosh.
And Dan comes over, and he says, we really should get out of here. So we're walking around, and there's this old hogan, and the hogan has obviously been in abandonment for a long, long time because there's no material left between the logs. The chinking is all gone. It's got a rusty padlock on the front door. It's in just horrible shape. And he said, don't even go close to that. Somebody died there. And we walked around the corner from that, and there is a tree that had been struck by lightning. It had a big scar down it, and none of the ground had any plants growing on it. And he says, right over here, there should be, there it is, and that's where the last meal of this poor deceased person was. And so we went up the end of the pathway, and there was a broken cup hanging there. It signifies the person will no longer drink from his cup. And we're camped about 100 feet from this place. That night we set out a bowl of melon on top of a fence post for any skinwalkers or any Bigfoot, anything that might be up there was tall enough to reach the top of a 6-foot fence post and not climb it up, and the bowl was heavy enough not to break or not to fall over if somebody small enough to shimmy up the post to get to it. Well, the next morning, the bowl was empty. Whoever got there ate all the melons. As we were in camp, I heard Leonard say, "Damn it!" and said, "Get the hell out of here! You know, we don't want you around here." And I went over to him and I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "God damn skinwalker!" And he shot an arrow at me. And I looked in his tent, and there on the side of his tent was a 1-inch porcupine quill that was about to fall out of the window, you know, the window netting on the tent. And he said he shot at me, and then he missed because I knew he was there. So I said, "Skinwalker's up here, what are they doing?" He said, "He's here because he's been trying to capture the spirit of that Navajo that died in that hogan. He's been at it for years and years and years." It turns out Leonard can see skinwalkers. He's a holy man with the Navajo, and he says if once you identify who the person is and you say his name publicly, then the skinwalker loses all its power and dies. I thought that was an interesting little...
That is interesting. That is interesting. So do you feel, I mean, do you know people that have, besides Leonard, that have had encounters with skinwalkers? Because I remember there's an artist who was at some of these UFO conferences, and I've had a couple conversations with him, and he's told me about the experiences he had with skinwalkers, and they are, it is not good.
Right, and I don't know if it was a skinwalker or not, but my wife was coming home from Cuba, which is in north central or northwestern New Mexico, and she lived in Cortez at the time, or Mencos, and she had a native with her, and they were traveling along Highway 491, which used to be Highway 666, and dark. She's doing about 60 miles an hour, and she hears a thump on the back quarter panel of her car, and she starts to slow down, and the native says, "No, speed up, get out of here." And which she did, and they heard one more thump, and then whatever it was, they lost it. They ran away from it. But whether it's a skinwalker or not, I don't know, but it's in the right area, right behavior, so quite possible. By the way, the two Navajo Rangers, anybody that wishes to know a lot more about the skinwalkers, the Navajo Rangers, John Dover and Ben Milford, will be at the Utah UFO Fest, and I'll guarantee you they can put your hair on end listening to some of the tales they have about the skinwalkers.
Oh, I can't wait. And I have to tell you this is so interesting. They have been on my mind all day today, and I was looking through some of my business cards and things, just cleaning out drawers, and I found a card with John Dover's contact information on it. And I've been looking for it for a year. And it was just so, it was such an interesting kind of synchronicity. It's like, wow. So finally I get to sit with him and pick his brain about all of these things and learn some of these experiences because, like we both know, it's, you go to Yakima, you go to places in Arizona and New Mexico, and this is the way it rolls in some of these areas.
Oh, yes, and it's real. It's not just something that the parents tell the kids to make them behave or something like that. It's the elders and the young people. It's all something that's a reality of their life.
It's interesting too. We have some people that we work with here in Utah, and they are very LDS, and they were mentioning that one of their son's friends, they were on a mission in Texas, and the bishop that was in charge of the missionaries said to the missionaries, don't answer your door after dark because we have skinwalkers in the area. And that's huge. That's really interesting. That caught me by surprise. But apparently, one of usually there are two mission partners, and there was a new partner that was coming in, and he hadn't heard about that. And one night there was this huge, just banging on the door. Just very odd, and it just sent chills up his spine. And the missionary that had been there for a while, he knew that it was something abnormal. And so the other one went to the door and was going to answer it, and he just said, no, you cannot do that. We need to get down and pray. And they had, it was very terrorizing for them. But it's interesting that you've got, here these Mormon missionaries in Texas, and they're talking about skinwalkers. That's very interesting. And we've got about 30 seconds to break. I want to thank Ron Regehr for being here. Make sure you go to UFOclassified.com. Find me on Facebook. We are going to take a break, and the best is yet to come. So we will catch you on the other side.
Listen very carefully.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
This is UFO Classified, live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
For more information on the host of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes, upcoming guests, as well as links to the past shows,
visit her website at UFOclassified.com.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.
Now, broadcasting in digital HD radio.
The disc landed at a ranch at Corona, New Mexico. The rancher turned it over to the Air Force. Rancher W.W. Brazil was the man who discovered the saucer.
What I thought was a star began coming in my direction at a very rapid rate of speed.
The unidentified object, which some sources thought might be a blimp, moved slowly down the Pacific coast from Santa Monica and disappeared south of Long Beach.
I saw a UFO, and it went down the river, turned right at the United Nations, turned left, and then down the river.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
No more plausible deniability. Fact, fiction, or the truth. You decide. And now, the new voice of the high desert, the hostess of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes.
Welcome back to the second half of a very exciting show. I knew this would be. I have been wanting to get Ron Regehr on the show for a long, long time because he has been incredibly good to me, and I know how hard for the past 5 decades he has put all of his effort into researching not only Utah, but the Native American connection with regard to the phenomenon. And I just think that Ron he's very dear to me. So I'm happy to have him here. Ron has been a researcher for more than 50 years. He's a retired aerospace engineer with 36 years experience at Douglas Aircraft and Aerojet Electro Systems, working in space and Earth surveillance systems. He worked as MUFON State Director. He is now the Director of Documentation, and he is writing several books, and I cannot wait to read all of them. And Ron, I hope you're going to autograph them for me. That'd mean so much to me.
Let me finish writing first.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm putting my order in early, okay?
Okay, it sounds good. Yeah, I don't know which one's going to be finished first. Probably a forensic look at the Ramey office photos. That one, I've finished up my part of it. I've got a co-author, and he's in Manchester, England. He runs a laboratory, or as they call it, the laboratory, for the University of Manchester Physics and Astronomy Lab. So he's no lightweight either.
That is wonderful. And again, we are having some strange connection issues, but we will hopefully get Ron back on. And that is great. Ron has been telling me on break about some of the books that he is writing and the experiences he's had. And here we go, we're calling him again. You guys get all the excitement tonight. I don't know how we can handle it. But it is interesting because Ron has done a significant amount of research with regard to Native Americans, the connections, the petroglyphs. One of Ron's very, very dear friends is Clifford Mahooty, who is going to be speaking next week at the Utah UFO Festival. And Cliff and Ron and I, when we saw each other at the Starworks Symposium, we actually had a bit of a discussion about, I called Ron. Cliff was standing right next to me, and we were talking about skinwalkers and some of the folklore with regard to this, and I was just picking Ron's brain about it. It is fascinating to me, and I think the more that I learn about this, like anybody who really delves into the subject, there is absolutely no doubt that whatever these creatures are, they are real. People are having absolutely terrifying experiences with them. And while we're waiting for Ron, I'm going to tell you a little bit about an experience with a skinwalker that my friend had. And he's a person, again, that I see at different conferences. And he is Navajo. And he was talking about the fact that, he was a new father, and he was just kind of in one of those states in his life where he was going to tempt fate. It was just, even though he was a new father, he was just like, okay, great. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say, if skinwalkers are out there, then show yourselves to me. And he said that one night he was in a field and had an experience where he just felt, the just air gets sucked away. He was completely cold, and he could see something just rushing towards him that just said, the first thing in his mind was, you wanted to see me, you've got me, and now you have to decide whether, your family is more important or whether this experience is. And that experience, obviously, it leveled him emotionally. And that wasn't the only experience that he had. And now Ron's back, and we were talking about, Ron, your book, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I want to kind of go back to the skinwalker lore and some of the things that you have learned, because some of your very dear friends are Native American.
Right. And they're very, very closed-mouthed about talking about the skinwalkers. And two things they're closed mouthed about: skinwalkers and the star people. But I don't really know much more, or I'll probably be repeating myself because I haven't got that involved other than the direct experience. We did send the dart in to laboratory, and they could find no organic poison on the quill of the skinwalker dart. But that didn't get to the lab until maybe 6 months after the event. So whether it's something that diminished in strength or where it's not detectable, or whether they were not knowing how to detect it, or whether there was never any poison on the dart, I'll never know.
Oh, that's interesting. And one thing that I've been trying to learn, and I've talked to Chris O'Brien about this at length and several other people in the field, and Native Americans as well. I think it's important to know, especially as field researchers, when we go out there, how do we need to protect ourselves from this type of experience?
I have not heard anybody, any of the natives caution me about it. And it seems that they're more prone to follow the dictates of someone who essentially put them on someone else, as opposed to just randomly striking out at people. Now, I could be wrong, and I want to talk to John and Stan about that next weekend, but that's the impression I've got.
Interesting. And so what do you suppose, why would you say that Skinwalker Ranch and that surrounding area, it appears to me to be a little bit more negative. So why would you suppose that would be the case?
Well, I think the term skinwalker ranch is a misnomer. I don't believe that is a skinwalker there. Now, the wolf-like creature that first approached Sherman's the first day they were there, for those of you not familiar with this, what went on, there was family decided they would move their cattle operation up to this ranch in northern Utah. And they bought their prized beef, and I'm not remembering what the variety of beef or species, but it was a very uncommon species. They brought them up there. They unloaded the cattle and put them in this pen, holding pen. And as they're taking stuff out of the truck, they see this great, big, huge dog across the field sauntering towards them. Well, they first think it's a wolf, but then it doesn't behave like a wolf. It behaves more like a family pet.
We're having a little more excitement as far as the connection goes. So hopefully we will get him back here pretty quick. I don't think we've ever had a show where we've had this much interference. So this is absolutely crazy, but we'll get him back. But Ron was referring to, and if you've ever read the book Hunt for the Skinwalker, or if you haven't, you need to read it. It is an incredible book. And I also want to throw out there that you have to get the Utah UFO display, which was written with Junior Hicks and Dr. Frank Salisbury, who was a botanist in Utah and did a lot of significant research. If you don't know who Junior Hicks is, let me tell you, he is still alive. He lives up in the Uinta Basin, and he is, I cannot wait to meet him, because to me, he is a true hero. He has spent the past few decades documenting all of the sightings in the area. And when he first started, this was back in the 60s, there were reports coming in, and I think the police were a bit overwhelmed. And so Junior had an interest, and then the police would just funnel the cases to him. It is, from what I understand, he has hundreds of cases. And I truly, truly hope that at some point in time we can get those cases archived and get them out to other researchers, because this is a treasure trove for all of us. I don't think we have an area in the world where there has been that type of documentation, and this can really tell us a lot and build a solid foundation to do research. So we look forward to that. And Ron, you're back.
I'm back.
My goodness, you mystery man, you keep disappearing.
Of all the years I've had my cell, this is the very first time I've dropped a call anywhere. Now I dropped 3 times.
You know, I'm happy that we could share the experience, you know.
Anyway, let me continue on. This large wolf-like creature sauntered up to them and didn't growl, didn't snarl, nothing, just sauntered up, and then suddenly grabbed their prize calf by the nose, reaching through the pipes, grabbed his nose and tried to pull it out. So the father grabbed his rifle and fired several shots at it until he ran out of ammo, and the bullets would hit this wolf-like dog or creature, and it would recoil when hit, but didn't yelp, didn't let go of the nose, didn't act like anything happened until it got hit by, I think it was the third shot. And then it let go and started sauntering back across the field, not running, no tail between its legs, no whining, no whimpering, no barking, no sounds, just sort of like, okay, I'm going to go home. And the boy, in the meantime, ran into his house and got his rifle and fired several more shots, one of which knocked loose a large piece of flesh, but the animal kept sauntering on out down the hillside where the stream was. They ran after it, and when they got to the stream bed and walked down, you could see the mud flats and the footprints going across the mud, and after about 5 or 6 yards of following it, the steps disappeared, like the animal just disappeared into thin air. No more footprints, it was gone. needless to say, they were spooked. Things went on for several years, very mysterious. The mother would come home from shopping, put the groceries in the cabinets, go in and maybe make a bed or something, come into the other room, and the groceries would be all over the dining room table. When Bigelow and his people finally got there, they sold the ranch because it was just too bizarre, too much to bother with. They found every single cabinet door, every single door in the place had a latch and a lock on it. It made no sense to them. Why would anybody put a lock on their own cabinet where they store their beans and bacon? You know, that doesn't make any sense. Until they'd lived there for a while. And then they found out they too were being harassed by strange things, which is uncharacteristic of a skinwalker. That's why I think it's a popular application, but I don't think it's an accurate description of what's going on there.
I think you might be right. And I have to ask you, I mean, I have heard through different people and just talking about things, and they don't necessarily want to go on record, but I will, about the death of the security guards when Bigelow had the property. There was a story about this portal that opened up and a couple creatures getting out of the portal, and then Bigelow's security guards engaging or firing at these creatures, and the security guards dying. And I had also heard that there were, during that evening, there were lots of black vehicles in the area, lots of emergency personnel and things. And so have you heard anything about that experience or about that encounter?
Yes, I've heard about it. I've asked George Knapp, who was the co-author with Colm Kelleher. I've asked Colm about it, and both of them very quickly denied it. So quickly that it makes me wonder if it really happened and they're covering it up or what. I won't try to put words in their mouth. They denied it, and like I said, I've got about a 3-inch stack of records from the security folks there, their nightly logs, and there's nothing in their nightly logs to indicate that. But that still persists, and I always wondered why they abandoned the facility when it was still providing a lot of bizarre goings-on. It made no sense to me.
Well, and it's interesting because I think the whole slant of it was that things had kind of died off and Bigelow had lost interest. So, I mean, do you know, was there still activity going on when Bigelow left the scene?
From what I've heard, yes. So, again, it might not be it might be that there's stuff going on that he just can't put a finger on, and he didn't want to spend any more money because it was cost him a lot of money to do that research. Bigelow is, last I knew, looking for information that would enable him to get a leg up on exploring space. And that was why his big interest in UFOs. And apparently when he could no longer gather any more information, that's when he sort of just dropped out of the whole idea of investigating UFOs. Was it NIDS, something, I think NIDS was the name of his group, and but it's, I don't know that he dropped out because of activity or because of lack of being able to gather information on that. So I can speculate, but everybody can speculate.
Right, absolutely. And so what do you think, because they didn't release a lot of information about what they learned on the ranch, and there's been kind of this fervor in the community. Why doesn't Bigelow release the information and yada yada? But what is your feeling on that? I mean, I kind of go back and forth. I think that yes, that would be wonderful if he could step up and maybe give us some information. But then I also think that he was paying for this with millions and millions of dollars of his own money. And perhaps there is something going on there that we are not ready to know.
That, or just one of the things that would happen if he were to release files that other than the book that Colm and George wrote, it would do nothing more than spur a lot more interest, get a lot more people up there. He would have to increase his security. It would just be a major pain in the neck. And so, I don't blame him for not releasing anything, and it could be that everything they want to release is in Coleman George's book, and which is a good read, by the way.
Oh, it's a great book. I love it. In the security logs that you have, was there anything that stood out to you?
Just absolutely bored bunch of guys that got shook up by things they couldn't put their finger on what was going on.
So what types of things were happening?
That here, lights would come on, and they'd go investigate the lights, and the lights would go off, and they couldn't find any cause of the lights. And then they'd hear sounds and go out and investigate the sounds and couldn't see any cause for any sound. And that was about 99.9. I can't remember anything. I waded through about 200 pages of just absolutely like reading a phone book. I was hoping to find, the great breakthrough book that would solve all of the mystery of the Skinwalker Ranch, and I was bored to tears with it. But
well, I mean, but that's the thing with all of this. But I mean, being somebody that's done this for 50 years, I mean, there's a lot of sit around and wait, and then you get the golden nugget. But it takes a lot of patience and perseverance and going over things and then going over them again, and it's quite interesting. But I think it sounds like some of the things that happened at Skinwalker, even though it was few and far between, they were so dramatic that they had a long-term effect on the researchers and the security guards or the people involved in that area. Do you think, and I have to ask you this because this is something that's been on my mind, do you think that when you have an area, an active location, do you feel that there are physical effects from being exposed to this kind of long-term phenomenon? Physical and mental.
Yeah, I've never experienced any, but I haven't spent a heck of a lot of time in those strange areas. I go in and gather my data and talk to witnesses. Had some interesting little vignettes given to me, but I've never heard of anybody that's experienced any long-term damage, so to speak. I mean, there's natives still there. If there was anything that would cause them long-term ill effects, I'm sure they'd get out. I mean, they've got quite a ways to go. And there's lots of humorous ones, but no really that I'm aware of really bad things that continue to plague people as a result of it.
And that's interesting. I think, for me, I'm looking, I look at the area, and especially when I was state director for MUFON, and I see that in this area, you've got around the ranch specifically a higher suicide rate from what I've been told by some researchers, and I really need to look into this and do some research. But there's also a higher crime rate in areas that are not Skinwalker Ranch. When you've got this type of thing going on, there seems to be a pattern that is worth looking into.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. One of the things that we find, though, is that there's higher rates of alcoholism, drug abuse, and things like that on the res because of the poverty of the area, and those characteristics kind of go hand in hand with the increased poverty. I don't have any data that would support either conclusion right now.
Right. Okay, well, we've got our last break coming up. America Luke's here with Ron Regehr. This is UFO Classified, and we will see you on the other side of the break.
Stand by. by.
This is UFO Classified with Erica Lukes.
Erica Lukes.
The phone lines are open now at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. More UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
With Erica Lukes on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. After this.
Woven throughout the universe are keys to a hidden message, awaiting a voice that can decipher their coded meaning, a cosmic connection to the cosmos. Tune in to the KCOR Digital Radio Network at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern for Cosmic Connection. Cosmic Connection. Cosmic Connection. Cosmic Connection with astrologers Caroline Lynch and Merlin Wizard. Your weekly astrology reading is but a phone call away. So call Cosmic Connection Sunday, 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, and get your free reading today. Cosmic Connection with Caroline Lynch and Merlin Wizard. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. This is the world famous KCOR.
That's the only station I listen to.
Monday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, we take the KCOR Digital Radio Network off the grid and go deep inside the paranormal vault. Jump on the elevator and come take the ride down the rabbit hole of reality with BK Mojave and the Watcher as they unlock the vault and dust off some of their classified paranormal case files even the government doesn't know about. The Paranormal Vault, Mondays at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. This is the one show our secret government fears will speak the truth.
That's good.
Turn your radio up.
All the music I want to hear. This is my station.
Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific. Jump onto the Celestial Highway and travel at the speed of light. Into hyperspace. Hyperspace. Hosted by Solaris Blue Raven. She navigates you through the cosmic tides of mysticism into the world of covert technology, UFOs, mystical sciences, and the world of unforeseen forces.
You get to really sort of enjoy a bizarre ride.
Listen live, Friday night, 9 p.m. Pacific, for Hyperspace, the one show that blows the whistle off our government black ops projects. Hyperspace. Hosted by Solaris Blue Raven. Exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
Want to take a ride?
You're listening to
UFO Classified with Erica Lukes, where the truth isn't hidden beneath the black lines of a Sharpie.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
To be on with Erica, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio.
Radio contact.
Share your thoughts on the show on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR. Or head over to the live chats at KCORradio.com.
The audience goes nuts.
And now, your host of UFO Classified.
Are you ready?
Erica Lukes.
Well, happy Friday, my friends. Thank you for listening. And every week, the show grows in numbers, and I get more messages from all over the world with people sharing their experiences with me, and that means a lot to me. I think that we are in a very pivotal time, and we're building a collective community, and we are exposing some of the unprofessional behavior that we are seeing in the field, and we're really going to set some standards and do good research. I'm excited. And speaking of, Mike Diamante wrote an incredible article, and I was happy that he interviewed me. You can go to his blog, Punk Rock and UFOs. He has interviewed Tom DeLonge, Aerosmith, all sorts of people. And I'm excited to have him on the show next week. But he is a younger person who was interested in this. He is a writer who used to write for the Houston Chronicle, and we've got a fresh face bringing new information into the field. This is what we need, and I'm excited about that. My guest this evening is someone who I'm going to be hanging out with next Friday night, I can't wait, at the Utah UFO Festival, and this is going to be a good time. We're going to sit there with our night vision, do a little, just having a good time watching the Bob Lazar film, but also a very special treat is going to be taking place. Ken Goldstein, who is a brilliant musician, he's opening for Santana on part of his tour, is going to be down there doing a live acoustic set. And if you're a musician, you like that raspy kind of blues, amazing stuff, then you need to definitely get down to the Utah UFO Festival. What a treat. I know that he is one of the world's best musicians and songwriters, so come down and see us. Ron Regehr is here, and we are talking about the Native American connection. We're talking about Skinwalker Ranch and all of these things. And so, Ron, welcome back. Are you as excited to hang out as I am?
Oh yeah, that's the reason I go to these things, is to chat with people and reconnect and network and meet more people. And it's just that's to me what it's all about now. It's as much as important as the research itself, is to get new people involved and excited and thinking about protecting one another and protecting our craft, if you will.
So since you've been in this for so long, I know that the short time I've been in this, I think there's not a day that goes by that my feelings or my opinions or my belief systems don't change about what's going on here. Where are you at right now with how you feel about this?
Not sure that I understand the question, but you mean extraterrestrial hypothesis, or?
Right, the extraterrestrial hypothesis. Do you think that there's something interdimensional? Do you think it's demonic? Do you think it's a combination of all of it?
I think it's more of a combination of everything. When we talk with some witnesses, some people experience really horrible things at the hands of the visitors. Let's just collectively call them that, as opposed to aliens or put any other label on them right now. I had a good friend, PhD electrical engineer. I'll talk about him a little bit next weekend. And he was visited regularly, and he was an inventor, invented medical devices that were rather outside the realm of normalcy. He was one of the first ones to come up with lasers as a means of treating different things. And he got all of his ideas from the visitors. And if he didn't understand it right, they would come and visit him again and correct his invention. One of the interesting things I thought was funny as all get out was when they came to visit him, the portal they used was between his laundry room and his kitchen. And on the area above his door was where he had an electric clock. And every time they'd come and visit him, they'd kill his clock. And so he finally figured out that the clock he wasn't getting bad batteries. It wasn't cheap clocks. Well, they were cheap clocks, but it wasn't the cause of his problem. He finally figured out that there was a correlation, 100% correlation between the visitors coming to see him and losing a clock. So he asked them politely to please find another way to get to visit him, because every time they came in, it would kill his clock. Well, he never was visited by those people, or that group, or those visitors again. He started getting an assemblage of bad people. Came in and he actually called me up one morning after wrestling with this one visitor. He said, I finally just had to slam my back against him, and where he was at the corner of the wall, and knocked him out, and then he disappeared on me before I could slug him in the nose. I think there's about as wide a variety of visitors as there are people on the planet. They come in, seem to be all shapes, sizes, and stripes, and mannerisms and behaviors.
Do you think, though, I mean, I remember when I was in my 20s or younger than that, I would, I had some interesting paranormal experiences. And I think when you're that age, you are very foolhardy and you get the Ouija board out and you do all of these things to try to kind of goad on whatever's taking place around you. Do you think that that is kind of a foolhardy thing, or do you think that it's all kind of subjective to the person that's having the experience and their intentions?
I think it's very foolhardy, and the reason is that it's something that people, even those of us who have studied it for years, don't really know what's going on. And to open ourselves up to something that we really don't know the limits, I think is not wise. So I would caution anybody to just step back and not invite that sort of thing. Unless you really know how to turn it off, don't turn it on.
So how do you feel about some of these? It's almost like there is this UFO religion, so to speak, or people that have these amazing encounters, some of the CE5 groups. Do you feel that they are truly in contact with something that is benevolent that's trying to guide them?
I'll believe it when I see some results. I'm more pragmatic. I don't see any difference between them and any of the major religions of the world. They make all kinds of claims, some of which other members believe that they really did work, but I don't see anything that I would call conclusive evidence of what they're claiming. And I'm not saying it's not there, I just haven't seen it.
So tell me, and we didn't ask this, and somebody in chat wanted to know what type of encounters you've had personally.
If I've had encounters with strange beings, I'm not aware of it. I've seen a couple of things. I've talked to people who have experienced it. Maybe we did. I was in Roswell, and let's see, I guess it was the last time I was there. And during my presentation, there was a young man that maybe 9 or 10 years old, had very, very coarse hair, the color of freshly sliced carrots. I mean, just strange. But I told him, hold your hands, questions to the end of the presentation, and I'll be more than glad. And his hand shot up just as fast as anybody's. And before, whenever he was, and any of the other ones where he and I were in the same lecture hall, his hand would shoot up, and he was ignored by the lecturers. Well, he's just a kid. So I made it a point to call upon him first. And he had, I don't remember the question, but it was exactly on point. And it had to do with, and he started out with, well, in the first 5 minutes of your presentation, you said this, and I want to know what about that, or something along that line. Very, very, very intelligent question. And it took maybe 5 minutes to answer. I mean, it was a brilliant question. And we met, every time my wife would try to get a picture of him, a photograph, his two aunties would just sort of sidle over and block the, between she and the camera. And so finally we were out, and we made notice that he was over there by standing in line to, I think it was to buy a taco. So my wife went over and said, "Do you mind if I get your photograph?" And no, it's okay. And it's bizarre. But she started asking him, "Well, where are you from? Your son's Oh, it's not my son. He's very smart, and we're really impressed with his questions, and it's just general chit-chat. And when I ask where they live, oh, we live under a bridge on Highway 95 in Florida. Like, who says they live under a bridge? I mean, it's just a bizarre answer.
Well, yeah, that's wouldn't be my first answer for sure.
Another time in Roswell, and I really think the aliens love Roswell, or the visitors love Roswell, because they can blend right in and nobody knows. We were there, and there's this, and if you've been in the Roswell in summer, it's hot. I mean, 100 degrees is not rare. And there's this woman in a wheelchair, and she's got a wide brim hat, long sleeve blouse, gloves that come up above her, close to her elbow, a scarf around her neck, and the way she's sitting, nobody can even see her face at all. Little teeny woman person. And we were outside, and she was beside us waiting for the light to change to cross over to the other side of the road. And I was talking to my wife, and like, there she is, and sort of nudging, trying not to be too obvious that we'd noticed her. And my wife looked over where she's supposed to be, and she wasn't there. And I looked up, she's across the street. The light hadn't changed nothing, and yet there she was, clear on the other side of the street. So maybe I have had encounters with people from other planets. I don't know. I've had encounters with two very strange people. I'll put it that way.
Isn't that interesting? I mean, have you ever journaled any of your experiences?
No, I haven't. Maybe I should one of these days. I just haven't done that. I've had a lot of them. It's always an adventure.
Well, it is, and maybe when I see you next weekend, we can sit down and I can do a little interview with you about some of your experiences. Because, I'm always trying to make sure I journal them or do a videotape of some of these things, because you never know when you can just, look back and say, oh, and make the connections. And I think that would be really cool to do that with you. So if you're game.
Yeah, I might be able to. I don't know what the weekend holds, other than the fact that Nate said to be there at about noon to mingle, and we have from dusk until midnight. And if we end early, there's this fabulous musician who's going to play. So.
Oh, this is going to be such a treat. I'm excited to see him. I mean, this is the guy that opens for Santana, so he's got to be good, and I've heard his music, so this will be amazing. And I want to just really quickly go back to Skinwalker Ranch, because I have heard from a very reliable source that Bigelow no longer owns the property, but that they have really ramped up security at the ranch. So they've got new security gates installed. They have all sorts of cameras around the property. And I also heard from this source that there are some things that are going on that are quite unusual. They have a great team of people that are the world's best researchers that are involved. And so hopefully in the next couple years, we will have more information about this very peculiar place on the planet, and I think it will help all of our research. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, what I would suggest you do is, I forget the name of the county, but write the county recorder and ask who is the owner, who holds title to the land. And it might very well surprise you. It might turn out to be the federal government.
Wouldn't that be interesting? And that's the thing, you don't know, because you hear some people speculate, is Bigelow still involved? Because a lot of people think that he had so much of an interest in it that he wouldn't just give it up and walk away completely.
Yeah, so one easy way to write the county recorder and say who's the owner of this piece of property. That's public record.
Right. But I do think that from what I've heard from my sources, the current owner is somebody that is interested in doing research and moving forward from where the Bigelow team left off. So that'll be interesting to see. And as far as, with your research, where are you going to go? Are you going to do some field research like I'm planning to do? Because I think, to me, that is the most important thing we can do. I think we've, sat behind computer screens and dismissed cases or, yada, yada, but we haven't really gone into the field where we know there are active locations and done good research.
Well, I don't consider anybody sitting at a computer screen doing research. I mean, I'm old school. I think anybody that relies on a YouTube video is a buffoon. There's just nothing credible there, and if there is, it has no way to be credibly verified. So I'd say the only research that counts is field research. Anybody can make a YouTube video. Anybody can write a story. Stories are fun to listen to, and they're no more than Uncle Joe telling a story around a campfire. It has no more credibility with me than that. So if somebody wants to convince me of something, show me the evidence. Forget the stories, show me the evidence. Like I say, nice stories, credible witnesses can tell you all they want. Who's got the title, who holds title to the ranch. And that's where to start. And you can't get that off a computer screen. You can get that by going to the County Hall of Records.
Absolutely not. But I wonder, because I noticed, when I was involved in MUFON or just even looking at other researchers in the field, that seems to be kind of what they do. I mean, it's like they're just sitting behind a computer screen, looking at a case coming in and doing very little research and dismissing credible cases, in my opinion. And I would always say, when I was talking to Jan Harzan, it's like, okay, we've got 50 years of data. What are we doing with it? We have commonalities in specific places. We should be out there, doing field research. And I think that's one thing that we need to really work on in our field, is to try to move away from the quote unquote investigator that gets a case, makes a phone call, and then closes the case.
Right. And in some cases, that's all that's really required. But in many of them, there's more to it than just that. And there's no way to find it by just sitting down at a computer screen or on a telephone call or some. I mean, it's just laziness, and to me, that's not research. That's just laziness. But again, there's. I think that it's. I don't know that any organization can move that along. I think that's individuals who are motivated to determine what they want to do with their lives, what they want to do with their research, and where they want to go with it.
Right. And so I've got another question to ask you really quick before we wrap up for the evening, but can you tell me about fast walkers and what evidence there is that has been collected on radar? Or tracked on radar?
I don't address radar because I have no direct experience on radar cases. I do know that the surveillance satellite detected fast walkers, many fast walkers. We're the ones that came up with the term fast walker. Also, there's also slow walkers. Those terms were first used to describe events seen by the Defense Support Program, which is one of our nation's best surveillance satellites. The definition of the term is classified, and I would suggest anybody that's interested read Jacques Vallée's book. He's got a definition that he believes is to be good, and let's just leave it there as far as definitions go. The Iranian UFO, remember that one?
Yes.
Okay, that was detected by our satellite, and I researched that event. along with many other people, don't get the impression that I was the researcher on it. That would be misleading and false. Many people did research on that. I just tied that event in with detection by our spy satellite, and there was 100% correlation. So that was one case I can demonstrate to anybody who wants to see it of a fast walker observed by ground people as well as space satellites. So 500,000 people on the ground saw that UFO.
Wow. And clearly I'm going to have you back again and again and again. And I'm so grateful that you have been here. And you're bringing your night vision next weekend, right?
I am.
But you've got a hotel room, so hopefully you're not going to bail out at like 9 or 10.
Well, I think I don't even start. It doesn't even get dark until about 8:15, so I can't even start. And then the format appears to be that I will talk for a while, and Chris will talk for a while, and then Cliff will talk for a while, and then we'll sort of do a round-robin tag team type of thing. That's the impression I get. I'm not sure.
So you're practicing staying up late? Because Grandma Moses on this end doesn't go. I mean, I go to bed at like 9 o'clock, so I've got to practice all week.
Yeah, I normally go to bed at about 10:30, but that's about. See, right now my time is 5:55, so I think you're 6:55.
Yes.
So you're even.
So.
Yeah, you're even. So we'll both be yawning and stretching and looking for a soft spot to rest our heads.
Well, it's okay. We'll have lots of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. And I thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
And I look forward to having you again and learning from you. And I will give all of my listeners links to Ron's great work. And when he comes out with all of his books, we'll have you back on the show, Ron, but I will get that information out. And as I learn more about Skinwalker Ranch and the Uinta Basin and different things, I will also inform all of you. I want to thank each and every person that's in chat room, Jeff Cox, Dwight, David Cook, all of you mean the world to me. And like I say, the show is growing every week. This is wonderful. I hope that we can get some good work out there. And I hope that at some point in time, we can create good professional and ethical standards in the field, and we can really elevate it to the place that it needs to be. I want to also tell you that there is a new show right after mine here on KCOR, and it's Shar Margolis with Shar Vision, and she's coming on. It's her first show, so this will be very cool. A lovely Night of Ladies on KCOR Digital Broadcasting Network. I hope you all have a fabulous and safe weekend. Next week is Mike Diamante. That will be a pre-record, but he is with just he does a great thing. He's interviewed Blink 182 and all of these, and Tom DeLonge, which I will talk to him about. So if you have questions, make sure you send those to me and we'll get some good answers. But be safe. Stick around for a great Night of Ladies on KCOR. And we'll catch you next week.
Listen very carefully.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
This is UFO Classified, live every Friday night, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. The truth is out there, just waiting to be discovered.
And now, if you will, accompany me on a journey to the future.
For more information on the host of UFO Classified, Erica Lukes, upcoming guests, as well as links to the past shows,
visit her website at ufoclassified.com.
UFO Classified.
UFO Classified.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network. Broadcast